Hello and welcome to The Price of Music, brought to you by Music Ally, the show that's fascinated by all the fun and games and finances of the music world, as explained each week by me, Steve Lamack, and him, Stuart Dredge. If you want an easy guide to what's going on in the music business and how it all works, with one or two revealing stats along the way, then here we are. In fact, we'll start, as always, with an interesting big number, which this week is, Stuart, what have you got?
It's 30,000.
30,000 what?
It's not how much I'm spending on my son starting university this week, although not far off. 30,000 is how many fully AI-generated tracks are being uploaded to streaming service Deezer, but every single day.
Every day?
Every day.
30,000 AI tracks, just AI tracks, every day. What's that in percentage terms? Do we know?
Yeah, so Deezer has been talking about this stat quite regularly. So in January, it said that 10% of all its uploads were AI-generated tracks. In April, that went up to 18%, and now it's 28%. So not far off a third of all the new tracks. And the thing here is that by implication, if it's happening on Deezer, it's probably the same for its bigger rivals.
Yeah.
So 28% of all the new music is fully. And I did some maths. That's 210,000 tracks every week. That's nearly 11 million a year. Like 11 million AI slop tracks.
Yeah. I was doing some maths as well, because if roughly doing the maths, then if Deezer's putting up, I don't know how many tracks a day, 100. If you do the maths, then 30,000, that's roughly a third. So Deezer's putting up 100,000 tracks a day. I mean that's. Yeah. That is more maths. That's 70 songs a minute. I mean, in the time that it takes us to finish this podcast, more than 2,000 tracks will have been added, of which now we learn, a third of those are quite possibly AI generated. I mean, how are we supposed to make sense of this?
It's actually come down a bit. It used to be 120,000 a day, but it's come down. But yeah, so the one thing is that a lot of the coverage of this stat, because it sounds frightening, doesn't it? It sounds kind of worrying.
Mm.
A lot of the coverage has been like the sky's falling in, human musicians are in trouble, these services are being overrun by AI music. But there's some other numbers that these released that kind of may make you feel a bit happier about it or a bit more comfortable. So these tracks, and it's very careful wording, fully AI generated tracks. So it doesn't include like if a musician's used AI in some way to make their song.
Yeah.
Stuff that's been created only. They account for 28% of uploads, but only 0.5% of total streams on Deezer. So less 0.5%. And it also says that 70% of those streams are fraudulent, which basically means someone has stuck an AI track up and is using bots to try and earn royalties from it. Right. So if you do the maths on that, 28% of uploads AI generated, 30% of their streams are real humans only.
Yeah.
And 0.5% of total streams are AI. That means that only 0.15% of all streams on Deezer are AI generated music by actual humans wanting to listen to it. Yeah. So it kind of tells you that, well, it's partly because Deezer isn't recommending that music. It's got a policy. It won't put it in its playlist and it won't recommend it in its algorithm. So it's kind of squashing the promotion of it. But I think it also tells you that people don't want to listen to this stuff at the moment. People want to listen to people. Yeah. So if you're a human band going, oh my God, the sky's falling in, actually, humans don't want to listen to AI, this music at the moment. And it could change. There could be some amazing bangers released and that will change things. But I mean, it's not quite as sky falling in as it maybe seems at the first step.
Yeah, that's true. Can I just mention 2 points, though? That the storage for this, though, if we are creating these, or somebody is creating these 30,000 tracks a day, it just adds to, I mean, Spotify already have massive warehouses, don't they, to house all this music. Surely then, this is only going to increase the pressure as more and more tracks go on every day, some of which we really don't possibly need. As you say, if people aren't listening to them, we don't need these tracks, but it's going to cost us in the end because it all adds to Spotify's running costs, the fact that they've got to house all this music.
And the climate. I mean, in fact, it's a wider issue about AI technology and what's the impact on the climate of all the servers needed. I know people who don't like to use ChatGPT because they're worried about the climate impact of it all. And there's an argument that here, the more music there is on servers and no one's listening to, there still is a cost and there still is heating and water. So yeah, it's worrying from that point of view. Yeah, but you had another thing, didn't you?
Yeah. But the second point is, it strikes if obviously somebody's making this music, no one's really listening to it. It's taking up all this space. The only winners from this are the startup companies which are offering the AI software. I mean, are they the ones doing the victory lap around the office? Because the rate of growth of AI tracks seems to be gaining pace.
Well, yeah, although it could be a double-edged sword there, because I think what Deezer is saying is most of this stuff is being put up with fraud in mind.
Right.
And so if you're those services, you don't want to get sued for copyright infringement, which some of them are, and you also don't want to be associated with fraud. You don't want people kind of saying, right, you're being used by criminals to try and make money.
Right, yeah.
So in a way, I don't know if they'll be doing a lap of honor. It does show the growth of it in one sense. But I mean, the other thing I saw another stat this week. Do you remember we talked a lot about the Velvet Sundown a couple of months ago?
Yeah.
So they were the AI band creating, and they had like 1.5 million listeners on Spotify. And I think people are still quoting that stat and saying, "Oh, did you hear? An AI band had 1.5 million listeners.
Mm-hmm.
They've only got 320,000 now."
Right.
And that is a mark again of that was one of the better examples, the better examples of AI music put out. And the audience is the fifth because people were curious but didn't want to come back to it. And I think a lot of the people, that 300,000 people, have seen the band pop up again in their one of their playlists and gone, I wonder what they're doing now. What's the latest stuff sound like? Still curious. So I think that's the message here, is that, yeah, there's so much stuff being uploaded, but humans still, by and large, want human music. And yeah, don't be too existentially kind of fearful.
Right. News stories this week. Once again, we've picked 3 which we think you'll be interested in. We'll start with this one, which we touched on last week, but it's the Radiohead gigs, or, well, more pointedly, Radiohead's ticketing for the new tour, which was, I mean, entirely designed to try and shut out the touts. But more than 1,000 tickets for the Radiohead dates were on Viagogo and similar sites before, I think, they even went properly on sale. I mean, I think I know the answer to why or how this may have happened. But as someone who applied for tickets and didn't get one, what's your take, Stuart?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm containing my disappointment. But yeah, I mean, obviously, for anyone who hasn't been involved in it, Radiohead got fans to pre-register, didn't they? And you had to register details. You then got on an unlock code, which got you into the sale and a chance for tickets, or you didn't. You got an email saying, sorry, you haven't got one. Mm-hmm. And the whole point is we're shutting out touts and bots. Only fans will get into the sale to buy tickets. So yeah, so this follow-on is that people have been listing them. And so what we don't know is if you're listing tickets before they went on sale, you didn't have those tickets. But that's the nub of it, isn't it? Mm-hmm. If someone listed those tickets on Thursday, the day before it on sale, they didn't have a ticket to sell. And that's why people across the band's management was quoted as saying, this is bad. We're encouraging fans to stay away from these tickets, and we're going to be working to shut down unauthorized sales. So if you're a Radiohead fan going on, I get the temptation. If you missed out on tickets, if you didn't get a code or you didn't get tickets, you might want to go somewhere and say, I'll pay 500 quid to go and see these gigs. They're going to be amazing. I understand that. But you could then get to the gig and be turned away because your ticket was sold illegally. So
I'll tell you what, one thing I did enjoy about the Guardian report on this was they included a quote from Reg Walker. And if you ever see Reg quoted anywhere in any story about secondary ticket sites or anything to do with live music and ticket touts, listen to what he's saying, because he's legendary in live music. I mean, actually, having said that, I only heard of him last year. A few of us were in a pub after a meeting I'd been at in my capacity as chair of Live. And the stories people were telling about the lengths he's gone to alert promoters about the workings of the touting world. Absolutely breathtaking. Just the amount of intel that he apparently has on the shady world of bot attacks and, the tactics that touts are using. Take your breath away. But anyway, in that story, Reg actually said, these tickets do not exist. So it's a clear breach of the Consumer Rights Act, which is designed to protect consumers from fraud. What are the actual companies saying, though? I know they always say we are but the conduit for people to sell their tickets. But surely there is some implication here that aren't you allowing people to sell tickets that they don't have?
This is the issue, I think, because a lot of the statements are people have the right to resell the tickets. They're promoting that, you go onto Viagogo, there's Radiohead, a button on the front page to go and find tickets there. And they seem geared up for a fight. They're like, people have the right to resell tickets on our thing if they want. But like I say, I had some stats. So, FEAT, so FEAT, who they campaign against dodgy resale practices. And they did a lot of this research, I think, that was partly behind the Guardian article. I think they found, it's like 1,751 listings, like many of which more than €1,500 and some of nearly €4,000 before the on sale happened. And that kind of, it's very hard to argue that those aren't speculative listings where the people who are selling don't have tickets yet. I believe there was some claim that they might have got tickets through hospitality. I mean, and that might be true of some concerts, but it feels like everything Radiohead have done has been to avoid this happening. But yeah, so I mean, the thing I was writing for Musical, and I was trying to put this quite carefully because there's so many ways you could offend people. It is kind of a challenge, or it's going to have to be quite sensitively handled by Radiohead and by their partners, because I think a lot of fans are thinking, I didn't get a code. Like, I didn't even get a chance to open 17 browser windows and try and get tickets for these concerts that I'm really excited about. So people are disappointed at that. But if you're saying, well, the reason we did it this way was because to make sure the touts couldn't get tickets, you might go, okay, I get it. I was unlucky this time, fair enough. But I understand the rationale. But then when lots of people are selling tickets on Viagogo, you're going to get cross, I think. And you're going to feel like, well, I didn't get a chance to get tickets, and yet what they said they were going to prevent is happening anyway. So I think that's why it's quite important for the band. And I see the quotes from the band's manager. They're on this. They're going to be cracking down. And I think that is quite important. It's a weird thing because I was thinking, because I am a veteran of 17 browser window ready a minute before a sale. Like, it's just become what you do, isn't it? And you feel like you're getting a fair chance at tickets if you do that. But a lot of the reason that people are trying things like Radiohead are because that's not really fair, because there might be thousands of bots ahead of you in the queue. And so that's the thing here, is that I think they were trying something to shut those people out. And that's a good thing. But I think keeping the fans on side will depend now on successfully cracking down on anyone who has.
I mean, it's interesting when we've mentioned this on a few occasions recently, but the government is currently working on a report on secondary ticketing, which we were sort of expecting to arrive around now. But still hasn't emerged, and we don't know the exact date when it will be published. But I imagine some of this, I wonder if they'll have to hold up the report again to add in the implications of this particular incident. Well, we shall see. Story 2 this week: Spotify has finally added higher quality lossless music nearly 5 years after they first promised it. Unexpectedly, though, we won't have to pay more for it. Can you tell us what lossless is? Because lossless sounds like the title of a My Bloody Valentine album that never was. What is lossless, and why aren't they charging? What's changed?
That is it. It's a lost My Bloody Valentine album they've added. It's very, very anticipated. No, I mean, do you know, I actually spent 10 minutes trying to think how I'd explain lossless music. It's basically higher audio quality.
Right.
It's the absolute. So technically, it's you're listening to the song without some of the audio data being discarded during the process of compressing it. So when it's being compressed to make it kind of easier to download or stream, you lose some of the stuff. You lose some of the audio. And lossless claims to be what it seems. And then you can get into, if you go on certain internet forums, you can get into big debates about what is true lossless and is it what it says it is and so on. But basically, it's much higher audio quality. Caveat, depends what you're listening on. If you're listening on a shit pair of headphones, it won't sound great. If you're listening on a great...
Noted.
But you must have good pairs of headphones, surely.
I mean, it's a reasonable pair. I won't lie.
But yeah, so like you said, nearly 5 years ago, Spotify said it was going to launch this new thing called Spotify Hi-Fi, which would be higher quality audio, and you would pay more for it. So it'd be more expensive than a Spotify subscription to get better audio quality. And then a big announcement, and then it never came. It never happened. And the main reason for that was that year, Apple Music said, we're adding lossless music to Apple Music, and it won't cost anything more. And then Amazon did the same. And suddenly, it became very hard to charge more for better audio because it was being offered.
Okay. Yeah.
So essentially, what's happened is Spotify went back to the drawing board. It's said all the way along, we're still working on it. We want to offer better audio quality. And earlier this year, and we talked about this, I think, didn't we? There were these rumors of a new superfan tier on Spotify. And the three key things you get would be like early access to ticket pre-sales, higher audio quality, and some kind of DJ style mixing feature. And so what's happened now is they launched this DJ style mixing feature a few weeks ago for premium users, and now lossless music, but it's part of a premium. So if you have a Spotify subscription, you will now be able to get lossless music, and you won't have to pay more. So it kind of begs the question: what is going to be in this rumored superfan tier if it's not these two things?
Yeah.
Which I guess the answer is either different stuff, like there are no rumors yet about what different stuff, or maybe they're doing this. You could conceivably think, well, they'll launch this, give everyone a taste of it, and then say, right, but now you have to pay for the more expensive superfan tier if you want to carry on having it. Mm-hmm. That's possible. It would be quite a, it might be quite a kind of bad PR thing for them to do. People be cross. But yeah, so it's
sorry, Stuart. I just love that. Yeah. I love the way you pronounce the word cross. It's just because when you say cross, it actually indicates a whole lot of emotions, mostly which are, well, you could use a much stronger word for rather than cross.
Absolutely,
cross is this is when you say cross, you're politely saying very peeved off, aren't you?
Very, very jolly peeved off is very rich, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
But it is so the gist here is like this has been a long-awaited feature. People are quite excited about it. But it's kind of interesting. The music industry used to hope that you'd be able to charge more for lossless music, high quality music, and now it seems maybe you can't. Okay. But maybe you can charge more for other things.
Story 3. America may be the world's biggest music market, but I don't know if anyone saw this. The new figures, which came out the other day, are claiming that the American music market it grew by just 0.9% in the first half of the year. Has something gone wrong, or has it simply reached something of a plateau?
That's what people are asking, really. Unclear. I mean, it's a new record. It's like $5.59 billion, which is a new record. So that's good, but it's very slow. And I was looking at the past years. So they release this mid-year report every year saying what's happened in the first half of the year. In 2021, it was up 27%. 2022, up 9.1%. 2023, up 9.3%, so kind of the same. Mm-hmm. And last year, 3.9%, and now 0.9%. So this is quite a rapid slowdown in terms of the growth. So digging into it, music subscriptions doing quite well. I mean, like the money made from music subscriptions was up 6.3% in the US last year. And that's more than the previous year, higher rate of growth. But free streaming was down. Other kinds of streaming were down. Like they have this thing called personal radio, which is when you can't just choose any track. You sort of pick a station and it plays your music. Those things are down. So other kinds of streaming beyond subscriptions are struggling a bit. But even physical sales fell, and even vinyl sales fell. Like they were down 1%, and that's been the big story. Like vinyl has been growing and growing and growing year after year, and those sales were down. So it's like a mixture of things happening. It's physical sales having a wobble, free streaming, which I think music industry has been complaining about quite a lot recently.
Yeah,
free streaming isn't doing well enough. That's down. It's kind of interesting as well. There's a bit of finger pointing starting to happen. So Spotify came out quite quickly and said, we grew faster than the market in the US. We paid out more, which kind of was a way of saying, look at our rivals. They're the ones letting the team down.
Right.
So there's already a bit of finger pointing, what's going on here, who's to blame happening over there. And this is something I think we're going to see maybe more of this year. Just this idea of like streaming's growth was kind of quite exciting for a long time. Are we reaching that ceiling, like you said? Are we reaching a ceiling of like, well, everyone who wants to pay is already paying?
Yeah.
People do disagree with that. They say there's still more growth to be had. But yeah, and if so, what does the industry do and what do the streaming services do to try and reignite that growth?
Okay. Any other business? Oh, I know you wanted to mention, because I don't know the answer to this, but King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, didn't they? They were massive on Bandcamp, the digital albums chart last week, and I couldn't work out why. What they had about every album in the top 20 or something.
Top 30. It was
Top
in fact,
30. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. So why were King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard the entire top 30 of Bandcamp's digital album chart then? Explain to us.
Yeah. It involves me saying King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard lots, which, do you know if you're the same? I always say Wizard Lizard. That seems more natural to say. Like, that would be much more helpful if they called themselves that. Like, it's... I wrote a story about that. I had to literally spend 5 minutes checking I got Lizard and Wizard in the right order, or hadn't called them King Wizard and the Gizzard Lizard, or Anyway, Australian rock band, lots of fans. Yeah. This story begins in July. Actually, they quit Spotify, and if you remember, there were stories about the Spotify CEO Daniel Ek had an investment in an arms company, and is also the chairman of the board. And a few bands have quit Spotify in period, like Deerhoof quit Spotify, and then King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard quit. And they gave this quite entertaining quote. It's like, fuck Spotify. We just removed our music from the platform. Can we put pressure on these Dr. Evil tech bros to do better? So they came out very strongly against, we're taking our music off Spotify because we don't agree with this.
I would say they were cross.
They were very cross. Yeah. Very cross is a gradation of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've been putting more focus on Bandcamp. And what they did last week, they had the entire top 30 albums. And what they've done is they made every single one of their albums pay what you like. And that included paying nothing. So you can go on Bandcamp to their store and you can get any of their albums for nothing, or you can choose what to pay for it, a couple of dollars up to whatever. And so that's why they're the top 30. It was kind of to do with this pricing strategy of like anyone could download. And from their point of view, what they're doing is they're reaching new fans who are giving them a try. But their existing fans, this is something we've looked into. Do you remember when Radiohead did In Rainbows and had a pay what you want thing?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of evidence that actually the keener the fan, the more they'll pay, even if they could just put in zero.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening here is there'll be fans of the band who are actually paying for the albums. So they're making money from sales, but they're also reaching anyone on Bandcamp who's curious at all about what they sound like. So it's kind of, it's they're making this work for them. And it's difficult. I don't know how many artists could do that. Like any artist could go to Bandcamp and say, right, my entire catalog is essentially free.
Mm-hmm.
Have at it. It's quite a bold strategy. Some people will be like, I don't know if I want to do that. What if it cannibalizes everything else?
Yeah.
But it's working for them.
Here's something we should mention, because this came up in the lock-in last week, but has since been creating controversy in offices and homes across the UK. Do you file PJ Harvey under P or H? Some updates. What about the Music Ally office?
We did it, and it just split. So last week we said it, and we basically disagreed, didn't we? Politely.
Yeah.
Neither were set to get cross. And so Music Ally office split. I said, PJ Harvey, P-O-A. Someone went P, obviously, and someone else went H at the same time. So yeah, because I was a P man. That sounds wrong. I thought P, but you thought H, didn't you?
I still file under H. Yeah, PJ Harvey under H. I mean, I'm not saying I'm right. And we didn't get round to John Spencer Blues Explosion properly. Where do you put John Spencer Blues Explosion? Our producer was saying, where do you put Van Morrison? But that's him. That's obviously him, isn't it, Van Morrison?
Should be, yeah.
Look at your face.
No, you see, I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying it should be M, but in my head, I'm like, V was my first thing. I need to bounce something on you, actually, because I was chatting to producer Joe, and we had an email from a listener, actually.
Yeah.
And we wanted to bounce it on you to see what you said without any preparation.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
And this is from James the Joiner, who you may remember our fan, our super fan.
Oh, yeah, hi, James.
Yeah, he got in touch. He said he was very, very complimentary about our super fan lock-in as well. But he was in Waterloo Records in Austin looking for the debut album from the artist 86 TVs.
Yeah.
So if you've been working there, where would you have filed 86 TVs? And the name is 86
yeah,
TVs.
It's 86, yeah. So it's numbers. So you see, in my record shop, if I had a record shop, because this all started, dear listeners, after I once offered my services to work behind the counter at the marvellous Resident Records, the shop in Brighton. So I've worked behind the counter. Obviously, lock-in listeners know all about this. This is the sort of anecdotal gold you can expect in the lock-in. Anyway, you start the day by putting out new records in the racks. That's where this conversation began. In my record shop, I would have something which was numerals. So I think I'd put them all there. Although, having said that, There was a band called 1,000 Violins. I think that was 1,000. Was that 1,000 the numerals, or were they 1,000 violins? I don't know. But I would, because actually I'd put 1,000 violins. That's different, isn't it? Difficult. Okay, right. One, it would go in the numeral section. If not, it would go under E.
Okay, so James said it was filed under E for 80.
Yeah.
But then Joe and I were talking. We were thinking, where does the numerical section go? Does that go before A or after Z?
Oh, it comes at the end. Everything comes at the end. Weird compilations, different genres. Chick. You can have your own thing. It's right at the very end.
Punctuation section after or before numerical section? It's a minefield, isn't it? But,
it is. Yeah. It is. If you have any other filing dilemmas that you'd like to share with us or present for us to debate, then do get in touch. One last bit of any other business, I think. Actually, a couple of last, because I do want to mention. I know we're going to. You wanted to mention this. This is the Bad Bunny story, but can we just add, and this is coming off the back of last week's show, Morrissey, we lightly ribbed Morrissey for putting his back catalogue, all his rights in the Smiths, up for sale via a slightly anonymous email address. Morrissey announced within, I think, hours of us going live last week that the email address was coming down because it had so many offers, and he was now going to siphon off the best and worst, I suppose. But he was going to sift through all the offers. But the email address no longer exists, I'm afraid, everybody. Right, this is the last bit of any other business. Latin American star Bad Bunny. This is news from last week. Bad Bunny is filling stadiums across the world, but not in mainland US. And why is this? It's a little complicated and it's a bit political.
It is, yes. And mainland is quite important there because he has played a big run of gigs in Puerto Rico, which is sort of part of the US, but not mainland. It's where he's from. He's on this huge stadium. He's like one of the breakout Latin American artists of recent years, isn't he? And he's playing stadiums. He's playing stadiums in London, in Madrid, Paris, Sydney. And he gave us an interview saying why he's not visiting the US on this tour. And he said, basically, ice could be outside my concert. Not Vanilla Ice, although that would be, of course, ICE being the US Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. I can't believe I made a joke, kind of a light-headed joke about ICE. Yeah. They've been running these raids to detain and deport suspected illegal immigrants. Very controversial entity. Lots of kind of discussion and lots of kind of anger about what they're doing.
Yeah, right. So that's what is that why he's not?
Yeah, because essentially a Bad Bunny stadium gig would involve 60, 70,000 fans coming together, a lot of whom might be of Latino heritage.
Yeah.
And he's worried that ICE will be waiting outside at the end to cart off anyone they suspected of being. So it's a really sobering moment. He's basically like, I don't want to tour the US. I don't want my fans to be targeted in these immigration raids. And to bring that back to business from politics, like Latin music is really growing for several years. It's been growing faster in the US than the overall market. Like the RIA actually puts out Latin music figures every year, and they show it's growing. It's a really powerful part of the industry there. But now one of its biggest artists is saying, I don't want to tour that market. And the US is still, I think it's the biggest live music market in the world, isn't it? By revenues. Yeah. So the biggest Latin artist is not touring the biggest live market because of what's happening in politics and immigration policy. So it's a weird moment.
All right. And finally, for this episode, Bjork's latest release costs how much?
$44.99. That's dollars or pounds.
$44.99. What do you get for that?
Well, so this is a thing called Vulnicura VR Remastered. So, Bjork has always been into new technology. She's always found ways of putting music out. I remember she did an app back in the day that was brilliant. One of the first music apps on iPads. So she released a virtual reality version of her album, Vulnicura, in 2019. And now it's been remastered. So, this is something to make you feel old. It's not just albums being remastered from the 70s. It's virtual reality apps are getting remastered versions. And it's now out for Apple's Vision Pro headset, which is Apple's kind of, VR headset.
Okay.
And so you put it on and you get these immersive visuals, you get surround sound, music. I've seen demos and it looks wonderful. So I'm, not. But this is the price, 45 quid, which I was thinking that's a bit much. But then I looked at what a Vision Pro headset costs, and you have to pay $3,500 for a Vision Pro headset in the first place. So once you paid that, $45 for a Bjork album that's really interesting is maybe not such a big stretch, perhaps.
And I suppose if we're comparing it to the price of a coloured vinyl, well, a double album on vinyl, it's not actually that much more expensive in a way, for considering what you get. It's just the outlay for the hardware that's going to cost you.
That's it. And I honestly, I love Bjork. Like, I love the fact that she's been doing this. She does this stuff with technology, and it's never to make a quick buck. In fact, I think she often spends loads of money on it and doesn't necessarily make it back because it's part of her art. So honestly, if you have a Vision Pro and you have a road, give it. It looks wonderful. Okay. But yeah, I need to put it on my Christmas list and hope someone wins a lottery in my family.
If you've got enough money to have one yourself, come sponsor this podcast. That's it. We're out of time for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you are enjoying what we're trying to do, please do spread the words. Tell your friends or leave us a review online if you get a chance. That really helps to put us in front of new audiences. Alternatively, you can support us via Patreon. In fact, if you sign up to be a super fan, as mentioned, you get an extra 15 minutes or so of me and him chatting about music and money in a fairly free-form kind of way. This week, it will centre mostly around my ire regarding the Mercury Prize nominees. If you'd like to join us for that, become a super fan at patreon.com/thepriceofmusic. Alternatively, if you'd just like to get in touch with us, we'd love to hear from you. You can use our socials or send us an email, anything you don't understand about how the industry works that you think we might be able to make sense of for you, or any guidance or advice from the professionals. The Price of Music Podcast at gmail.com. That's the Price of Music Podcast at gmail.com. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye for now.